It worked. It actually worked. With agentic AI being the hot topic on everyone's mind, bigger, better, faster models being announced every week, the fear-mongering is astounding. But is it, dare I say, based? The race to the end, the technological singularity, is not slowing down. Full AI takeover is just beyond the horizon. And as a cloud security engineer, my curiosity got the better of me, and I wanted to f*** around and find out for myself. How effective can agentic AI be at exploiting a simple vulnerability? With cloud mythos, mighty hose, zero-day exploits where AI chains together a series of vulnerabilities in ways no human ever could is a serious concern. Or is it? Marketing hype? Let's find out. Today, I am dropping the soon-to-be obsolete enterprise-grade hacking tools, and I'm building my own autonomous AI agent from scratch and using it to tear into a enterprise company's cloud infrastructure. Mad Hat Labs. Breaking into the cloud because on-premise is for old folks. Now, I started with a simple premise: breach into a custom Azure web application and root the Azure tenant. But what is not simple is what I've put together. Architecturally, that's a word, what is effectively an offensive operation cloud security lab with a custom Azure cloud architecture.
This right here is my favorite thing ever in the history of forever. I think about this every day. I think about this all night long. I stay awake, not sleeping, because I'm thinking about this.
I know, surprising given all the videos I've done lately. The lab follows the quintessential hacker attack chain we all know and love. But how I actually got remote code execution, pivoting into the cloud infrastructure, enumerating Azure resources, and trying to get my AI agent to get its shit together was kind of a pain in the ass. And you'll see why.
All you do is lay on the couch. The baby needs diapers.
All you do is bitch at me.
To start, I had to plan out the Azure architecture. I didn't want to overcomplicate it, but wanted to keep it realistic for a real-world environment, complete with misconfigurations left by dumb devs, IT, and whoever else has access to the company's cloud resources. Third-party vendors, random users, probably Carl from accounting, because he needed access to finance shit and was naturally over-provisioned to access. Anyways, first we build a custom web app. Mad Hat Labs custom job board. We're hiring! Following the KISS principle, we'll keep it simple. Needs more. Haha, there we go. In this setup, the only point of entry into this Azure tenant is this publicly facing website and phishing links, but we won't do those. Next step is, how do I get my personal AI agent to perform reconnaissance and enumeration on this web app to find a point of entry? The point of entry that I've hidden in plain sight. Server-side template injection. You see, this input here is a template form. If we use the right syntax, given the web app's code, Jinja2, which is a common templating engine for Python for dynamic HTML web pages, and we input curly bracket, 7 asterisk 7 curly bracket, the resulting output is 49, which shows the expression was evaluated server side. Or we could just run the command, who am I?
My name is Jeff.
No input sanitization, no server-side validation. It's fucked. This is a good proof of concept for a server-side injection vulnerability, and something that an experienced pen tester would have no problem finding. Therefore, if my AI agent can't find a simple SSTI vulnerability, there's no hope and I can give up. Now, for the AI agent, there's multiple ways to skin a potato. I could, in theory, download a open source, freely available LLM and use something like Olama, and I could have my own private LLM, which is a highly practical thing to do right now. There's lots of videos on how to do that, and keeping it local means zero API costs, complete data privacy, and offline capabilities. But I'm lazy, and I'm just gonna use an API. Proves the same thing, basically. Now, the biggest issue you'll run into using Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, or whatever flavor of AI you prefer, Team Goog, is this: a shit ton of security blocks built into the LLM. You will obey me! Luckily, if you spit out a list of the available models via the API, one should work, Gemini 2.5, in my case, was not being obstinate, and with the release date of mid last year, good enough, But first, a word from a long-standing sponsor of the channel. ThreatLocker, one of the biggest threats that businesses face when it comes to cybersecurity in 2026, and isn't going away ever, is the use of AI tools, even more so with agentic AI, which is AI that operates autonomously to achieve specific tasks, goals. It will eventually become a massive problem. The main selling point of AI as a whole is, yes, it's an incredible tool to increase productivity, but mostly the best use case for it, something that upper management is drooling over, is completing tasks without the need for a human to do anything at all. Autonomous Ultra Instinct AI. If you work in cybersecurity, then you're probably immediately thinking of how this can go terribly wrong. We're riddled with anxiety. Allowing agentic AI to do what it's programmed to do is a scary proposition for businesses. It can go AWOL, have hallucinations, where it thinks the whole organization is a threat randomly all of a sudden and locks everything down, or deletes an entire repo because it's effectively blue screening. Lots of risk here. To address this, having dealt with the increased sophistication of malware attacks, phishing attempts, and social engineering attempts that are leveraging AI and building out integrations with agentic AI in our environment, something like an AI SOC analyst, the only solution to mitigating the risks I mentioned is putting in restrictions, controls to what these AI tools can do and have access to. ThreatLocker stands to be one of the best tools to address these types of controls because they've been doing it for years. I'm talking about their ring fencing feature. This is a unique feature that is exclusive to ThreatLocker, and sure, you can try to limit access via the traditional access control features, restricting user account permissions, which is built into most IAM platforms, but it becomes more of a mess when you consider something like OpenClaw, which can clear your inbox, send emails, manage your calendar, check you in for flights. This is some dangerous access and autonomy. Ring fencing is poised to address all of these concerns, and no other security tool even comes close. We use AI at work, we use ThreatLocker at work, and when it comes down to locking applications, whether it's AI or not, ThreatLocker is the best option we've found. So if you're interested in checking it out, check out the link down below to schedule a free trial. Let's breathe life into our AI agent script. Install the Google Generative AI package that we need. What? And get started with enumerating vulns on the site. To do that, we can't just tell our AI agent to crawl the site, search for any form with input, and inject strings into it to see if they're vulnerable. It won't do that. It's too stupid right now. The AI agent is like a brain in a jar, floating menacingly, waiting to take over humanity. At its core, LLMs, AI tools, are just a massive neural network, a mathematical model sitting on a server or on your computer if you chose to download it. We need to give it tools, some hands, if you will, to do things via some Python functions. Now, the web app is coded to require authentication to gain access to the job application form submission pages. We could hard code a session token, create an account, inspect page, copy pasta the token, and have it use that. But that's no fun or autonomous, and that would make us losers. And the only rule of this video, mission lab thing, is no hard-coded things for AI to cheat off of. We don't want to spoon feed spoons. So, first step is having it authenticate auto-magically by utilizing our two primary functions. A fetch page source pulls all the inglorious HTML and sends it to the AI agent, and an execute web request function, which allows it to push things to the site. Now, I ran into some issues. Tokens are not free. If we reference this token chart by OpenAI, you'll see that 4 characters is roughly 1 token. And early on, I realized I was limited by the Gemini free account. So I had to upgrade to tier 1 in order to get past the daily limits, which was roughly 20-ish, which, who the fuck can get anything done with 20 daily requests? Ain't happening. The second big issue with AI is context memory and hallucinations. When the AI agent sends a request to the server via the functions we set up, the server doesn't just return the result of the command. It returns an entire HTML structure of the page with the command buried somewhere in the middle of 50,000 characters easily on standard web pages. Now, ours is lean, but we're engineering this to eventually work on any site. And if you feed that 50,000 character response back into AI, you'll blow through the AI's memory window pretty quick. And more importantly than money is hallucinations.
Ever had dreams that
LLMs use attention mechanisms. If there is too much noise, the AI's attention gets dragged away by random CSS classes or HTML comments, and it forgets what it's actually trying to do, giving you a load of crap or an output. Think of LLMs like having chronic ADHD and can't focus for shit, like me. To address these issues, the Python script is coded with a technique called data wrapping and regex extraction, which does a few things. When the AI agent sends a command using the execute web requests function, like who am I?
I'm American. Do you guys have anything non-dairy?
The Python script intercepts it before sending it to the web server. It wraps the AI command into two highly unique randomized strings that would never naturally occur in a web application's source code. You'll only find these in Mad Hat Labs. The Python script takes that wrapped sequence command, base 64 encodes it, because I ran into issues with crap formatted sent requests, spacing was off, commas, and characters in the wrong place multiple times throughout this whole process, and I was getting some really stupid errors. So this base 64 encoded payload is fired at the vulnerable form input. The Azure web server executes it. The server's OS literally processes this, prints the word Mad Hat start, run who am I?
I'm Steve.
Which outputs root in this case, and prints Mad Hat end. The Azure server responds to the HTTP request. The response is, of course, a massive mess of HTML characters. And buried deep inside is this text. Now, the Python script uses regular expressions, regex, to hunt for the markers. Without going too far into the weeds of regex, Python script pulls everything after our start marker and stops at the end marker. All the extra HTML is thrown out because we don't care about it, and the AI agent only gets what matters for its limited attention span. At this point, the AI agent is more or less ready to go. Yeah! And all we gotta do now is let it know in our prompt what it has access to and what to do. Tell it about the functions, some rules of engagement. After several iterations of system prompts where I had to be a little more specific with what I wanted it to do, success! It can catch vulnerabilities. Aw, look at the little baby pen tester. Now, because we've already equipped the script with functions for the AI agent to reach out and interact with the site, any additional web exploitation and enumeration needed can be done by adding prompts. After everything was tested and done, we have this master prompt. First, we define the tools. Next is the phases of the attack chain we want the AI agent to follow. Phase 0 is authentication, obtaining a valid web session by finding the registration and login portal, register an account, and authenticate. Phase 1 is remote code execution, crawl the website, and fuzz the parameters for an STI vulnerability using the bash command whoami. I also specify it should fill out any additional fields in the form, just in case it doesn't accept partial input in the form. Phase 2 is recon on the Azure tenant the web app is hosted on. So this is after root is established, authenticating into the Azure CLI, which is command line that's installed on the web app, where it can find useful information like the tenant ID. Phase 3 is exfiltration. Using an Azure CLI command, you can pull the secrets that are stored in the Azure Key Vault. Phase 4 is lateral movement. Use the stolen credentials from the vault to authenticate in the Azure command line as a privileged service principal, which is the over-provisioned enterprise application with multiple graph API permissions. And finally, phase 5 is persistence and privilege escalation, where we've got some sub-steps. Step 1, query the tenant's default domain using another Azure CLI command. This extracts the domain names so that way we can create an account in the tenant using that domain name. Step 2, create a backdoor user account. And step 3 is to assign the global admin role, where we specify the role ID so it doesn't hallucinate, to the newly created object ID that we pulled from the previous step. We also have a knowledge base to prevent any further hallucinations. These are all gotchas that I ran into that the 2.5 Gemini model kept bashing its head against the wall that I had to correct. Like do not use curl or Python, appending certain values to commands, some clarifications on service principal accounts, because it ran into some errors where it decided to end it there because it thought all hope was lost. And just a couple rules of engagement. Structure the command line using the provided intel that we've given it, and once it's achieved the global admin on the newly created account, provide a full debrief and stop. We don't want this thing going AWOL and breaking everything. And after 100 hours or more, I lost count, I present to you autonomous Ultra Instinct AI.
very nice.
Obviously, this video doesn't cover every single error message that I ran into, nor does it show you how initially I started off with a Python fuzzer, a Python crawler that can more effectively go through the site better than the AI prompts can go back and forth with, because it doesn't require tokens and Python is just super quick at iterating through a bunch of characters all at once. I tried using Katana to map the site and all of its available URLs, which I then tried to feed into TPL map, which I ran into issues because it runs off of Python 2 and I was running on Python 3, as well as I initially had the AI agent only elevate to the owner of the subscription that the web app was hosted under, using an automation account that it was also able to locate the information via the Azure command line. But that didn't seem like enough of a proof of concept. Obtaining global admin is way more impressive because it gives you access to any subscription in the tenant, not just the single subscription. I also tried using Nuclei, which is a very common cloud pen testing tool, to scan the website for SSTI vulnerabilities, but they didn't have a template that worked for my specific case. And when I tried to use my own custom template, which it does support, it kept yelling at me saying that I didn't provide a template because it saw the custom one that I made, and I guess it didn't think it was valid. I don't know. I hit a lot of walls. I had to pivot, I had to change, and here we are. Needless to say, this was an interesting exercise and interesting proof of concept for me. And it's safe to say that given enough tokens and improvements to LLM models, we may just experience an unprecedented influx of zero-day chained vulnerabilities and exploits in the near future. Claude Mythos is exponentially better than the Gemini 2.5 model that I used. So where does that leave us as cybersecurity professionals and those interested in the field? Well, you'll have to wait and see my next video on my thoughts on the future of cybersecurity.